Amy Bacamino and her boyfriend John Adams are suing motel manager Eric Gala for charging a bedspread to her credit card. Eric says while staying at his Love Motel, the couple stole it.
According to your complaint, you were a guest at a motel that was run by or owned by the defendant. You left. You evidently signed a credit card for your stay. When you got your credit card bill in the mail, you noticed that there was an additional charge. You called up to find out what the additional charge was, and what were you told?
They said I stole a bedspread, a round bedspread.
Okay, and how much did they charge you for the round bedspread?
It was $80. It's not the money.
Shh.
It was just the principle that I would not steal something.
Absolutely. So what did you do when you saw the charge?
Well, first of all, this is my boyfriend of 3 years. It was our anniversary. And just for the fun of it, as a novelty, we went to this hotel that had a round bed and a jacuzzi. And he was surprised. I mean, I did it as a surprise for him. He didn't know. And it's, you know, it's for 3 hours and it's $75. And you go in and just use the jacuzzi. And then after we left, I didn't find out till a month later that they also charged me $80.
For the bedspread.
Right.
So what did you do when you found this out about this $80 charge?
Yep, I called them and I asked them what's this extra $80 charge, because it did not say on my charge card statement. And it was the woman in charge at the time, or I guess the lady who runs the desk. And she said, oh, it must have been a mistake, and that, you know, she was going to look into it for me, and then they would credit my card back. She told me to call back in 2 days, which I did, and she didn't have an answer for me. And then I called back again, and then she said, well, the manager, his name was Eric Gale, said that I had stolen the round bedspread.
Okay. What date did you go to the motel?
It was May 30th. May 30th of last year.
And what hours did you rent this room?
It was from 8 o'clock to 11.
Is this a busy place?
I don't think so. It's a fun place.
This is not
No, but is it a busy
a
place?
five-star motel or anything like
No,
that.
I don't mean that. I didn't ask if it was a five-star motel.
You know,
I asked you if it
it's
was
just a
busy. When you
novelty
got there,
thing.
there might have been other cars.
Well, there might have been. I didn't really notice.
You didn't notice. Okay, Mr. Gala,
Yes, Your Honor.
let me hear you, sir.
Well, the clerk that she had mentioned that she called when she was disputing her charge explained to me that she was told to check with who she had stayed with. Maybe they misadvertently took the bedspread.
How big is this bedspread?
It's a king-size quilted bedspread.
You don't accidentally take a king-size quilted bedspread.
Well,
And it's round.
What we found in the past, Your Honor, when something like this happens and we go through this procedure, when we ask them to check, usually within 1 or 2 days it reappears and we reverse the charges, is usually what happens. When the clerk asked her to check with the person she stayed with, she was emphatic that she was with her husband and her husband did not take it.
So?
I did not say that.
Shh.
And the maid, when she checked the room, had explained that the door was locked.
Oh, you can't tell me what the maid explained. The maid's not here. Where's the maid?
Well, she's been with us for 5 years. She would not have taken the bedspread.
I don't know who took the bedspread.
Who in their right mind would take a soiled bedspread from
Just a second.
anywhere?
So far, it doesn't sound like you're having a
think it's
problem here. Okay. They came to the motel. They stayed for 3 hours. Were you present that day?
I don't recall, Your Honor.
So you have no first-hand information about this case?
Well, the only thing that I can explain to you is that we're a family-owned and operated business for 50 years. Last 26 years, I've been managing it. The maid's been there for 5 years. We have a security gate all the way around the premises. We have traffic control gates.
You have
to get
the
in and out.
register of the guests that evening?
I don't have that with me, but I do have the credit card statement that she signed
No,
for
that's
the
not
room.
what I'm asking for. I'm asking you for the register of how many people slept in that room or stayed in that room on May 30th.
Just them, Your Honor.
You don't know that of your own personal knowledge, sir?
Yes, I have checked into that.
No, no, no. I want to see the register from the hotel for that date.
I was explaining to you they were the only ones to use it.
You don't know that, sir, because you said I don't know whether I was even there that day.
No, I checked into it. I looked at the
I
paperwork.
can't rely on your checking into it, sir. That's why we're in court.
The maid does make a morning check, and
She's not here, sir. You're giving me hearsay.
Okay.
And you
Your
can't
Honor.
testify because, you know, what hearsay is about. Hearsay is about my being able to cross-examine a witness, which is exactly what we're doing now. I'm examining you. I'm not just asking you questions that come out of here. I'm asking you questions to get facts. You can't give me the facts of your own knowledge. You can only give me facts based upon something that you've heard from somebody else, which is useless to me in court. So, you have to reverse their charge for the $80.
Yes,
They
Your
say
Honor.
they didn't do it. You have no proof that they did. Absolutely none. Right? That's admissible in court. So give them back their $80. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Yeah, this is case number 446 on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Blanche. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Lee, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had a long-distance relationship. You lived several hours away from each other, and you were in this relationship for a couple of years.
2 years, that's correct.
That's a couple.
Yes,
And you indicate in your complaint that while you were together, you would bring some of your property over there because you spent so much time there.
exactly.
The relationship terminated, and you want your property back.
Correct.
The defendant says that you did bring some things to his house, and the things that you brought to his house were gifts. In addition to being gifts, he talks about money being taken off for vandalism and other nonsense. So we'll get to it in a minute. When did you start this relationship?
Mid-August of 1999,
And where were you living?
Portland, Oregon.
And where was the defendant living?
Tukwila, Washington.
How far is that?
180 miles.
And how often would you visit him?
Every single weekend.
So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
And when did you start to bring property to the house?
I wanted him to learn how to go to karaoke bars with me, and he wasn't comfortable with that. So I said, well, why don't I buy a karaoke machine and some CDGs? It's a very expensive system and microphones, and he already had a stereo system. And since we spent so much time there, that's the first time I bought that. And
So you brought it to the house?
yes, ma'am.
So that's one of the items that you want back, your karaoke system.
Correct.
What else did you bring there?
DVD player.
Why would you bring a DVD player?
Shh. Don't.
Sorry, Your Honor.
A DVD player. Tell me
Correct.
about that. Tell me how that
Well,
came about.
Adam wanted to have a system downstairs. He bought a 65-inch TV downstairs with a DVD player. But then I said, well, I like to be upstairs because it's cold downstairs. And he says, well, we don't have a DVD player upstairs. So I said, all right, I'll go buy one.
Okay.
Just
so,
like that.
So you went and you bought one.
At Costco. I have the receipt.
And you brought it to the house.
I did, because I'm always there. Sorry. Sorry. I'm nervous.
Don't be silly.
I'm
Be
sorry.
nervous, but don't be silly.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Good. Okay, so you brought the DVD player over there so that you could use it upstairs because you were cold downstairs.
Yes, correct.
What else?
I have a list. Do you want me to show it to you?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, it's organized by level of importance.
No.
I'm sorry.
Listen to
I'm
me.
sorry.
Listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
I want you to tell me what things are yours.
They're
Give
all
me back
mine.
a list.
Everything on this list is mine.
Go, read it.
Okay, the CDG collection,
Slowly.
$1,500, a CDG player, $300, a DVD player, $245, a set of microphone cables and stand, $150, office furniture at Costco, $399.
She's been paid for these
Oh,
things.
shh.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Now let's get to the office furniture.
Yes?
What kind of office furniture?
It's a set because he had an office room. I didn't really like his office set, so I said, let's just go get a new one because I really liked him. I thought we were going to spend.
Strike that. Listen to me.
Okay.
Strike that off your list. If you say, you have a set, I really don't like it, I'm going to get a new set.
No, he wanted a new set.
Or he wanted a new set, and you said, I'll go get it. Go ahead. What's next?
Domestic stuff from Costco. We furnished his kitchen, and I furnished his bedroom set, comforters, pillows, yada, yada, yada. And I know you don't really. And then bathroom stuff. And then I also got him a tent for his car.
A what?
A tent for his car, but which he traded in.
I'm curious. How did the tent come about?
He said that he can't drive a car without a tent.
Shh, please.
So he wanted one, so I got it for him.
Good. That's nice. That's a gift. Next.
And all the other furniture that I bought was like a dry erase board, wall. Like I had 5 wall frames that I bought at an auction.
Well, what'd you bring him there for?
Because I moved out of my condo and I didn't have room for it, and he said he'll hold it for me.
Oh, really? Those things I want to hear about. What was that he said he would hold for you?
Well, because I didn't have room in my.
Tell me what
Okay.
it was that he said
Well,
he would hold.
it's like a dry erase board. Well,
A what?
The dry erase board is like a large one that you can like write on. It's mahogany. It's really pretty.
I don't understand what that is.
Did you say dry erase board?
It's a dry erase board with mahogany sides. You pull it out, Then you can, like, it's a dry erase.
on it.
You write
With a
on it.
You
dry-
have that,
with a
sir?
dry mark.
Yes, I do. But I gave her money for that, Your Honor.
He decided how much he wanted to pay me
She
for
paid $25 for it.
Just a second. He gave you money for it?
He says he did, but he did not give me money for it. He just says, I gave you money, and he decides what it's for. That's the way that's the way he does things. Okay.
Let's deal with two items.
All right, we'll just deal with the...
Let's deal with two items. If you're smart, you don't bring things to somebody else's house until you got a piece of paper that says the state of, where do you come from?
Washington.
Washington recognizes that this person and this person are husband and wife, they live together, anything they have is joint. You want to be a fool and bring over all those things to the house? Fine. You want to be a fool and pay for the tinting on his car?
Yes, ma'am.
You do that. But you don't come to court then and say, listen, you have to make me whole because the relationship didn't work out. Otherwise, I would be working 24 hours a day, and I don't like to work so hard.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hannah Lee says ex-boyfriend Ezra Blanche owes for a karaoke machine, a DVD player, and other household items. Ezra says Hannah forgave the debt when she lost a bet.
Okay, let's deal with the karaoke machine and the DVD player. Let me hear, sir, your rendition of the karaoke machine.
Well, basically, the idea was to go half on the CDGs and things like that. But I didn't want it, I figured if we're going to break up, I don't want to have to deal with having to give it back to her, so I gave her money for these things.
You did? How much money did you give her?
Yes, I gave her $1,200 as payment on a lot of the things.
Let's talk about specifically the karaoke machine.
Okay, and the DVD player. The DVD player was actually a gift. As a matter of fact, that was a Christmas gift. But she's all about money. Basically, okay.
I'm not interested
Yes.
in your editorial comments. Just stick to the facts.
Okay. The fact is that she believes that she can throw money at something.
Listen to me. That's editorial. Do you understand what editorial means?
It's relevant.
I want the
No.
facts. When you say to me the DVD player was a Christmas present, that is your determination of a fact.
Okay, there's also
Then I will ask
secondary
you
facts.
questions about it. Right now we're on the karaoke machine. You say that you gave her $1,200 towards the karaoke machine and the other stuff that goes with it.
Correct.
Did he give you any money towards it?
He did give me money. However, that money was for the negative equity on his car because he drove a Camaro when I first met him, and he couldn't afford it anymore. And so I bailed him out. I had
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
it was $7,000 negative equity, and he had to get rid of the car because his child support was going up.
So how much did you give him?
I gave him my Tercel. That's $4,500.
You gave him your car.
I traded in my car, and I bought a Mazda Miata.
So how did he get any money?
My car was the money, and I said, well, I lost my car in this trade, and he said, I would pay you $100 a month to help with your payments and stuff like that. So I took the $1,200 as part of the money for my car.
Did she help you out with your negative balance on your car?
Basically, she traded her car in on a deal, and I also paid money also.
He paid.
I don't care about what you paid also. I'm talking about what money came out of her pocket. Are you following me? Did she, in the course of your relationship, help you out by trading in her car, which cost her some money?
It was also for her benefit, Your Honor.
Was it for your benefit?
Both, yes, Your Honor.
How much benefit did you receive from it?
$1,000.
Did you pay her back for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you paid her back the $1,000 in addition to the $1,200 that you gave her for the karaoke machine?
Based on a bet, Your Honor, yes.
Excuse me?
Based on a bet, Your Honor, yes, and also based on
What do you
vandalism.
mean based on a bet? Explain that to
Okay.
me.
She made a bet, Your Honor, that she would have a six-pack of abs in 30 days.
No, I don't
Okay.
understand. Didn't say a word that you said, sir.
She made a bet, or she made a wager that she could do something within 30 days. When she did not do it in the 30 days, she lost that particular bet
She lost that bet, and who did she make the bet with?
with me.
So it's not that you paid her the $1,200
No, I
for
did
the
pay her
car.
$1,200, Your Honor.
So what you didn't pay her for was the $1,000 for the car.
Correct, but we never agreed to pay on that.
So what debt was forgiven as a result of this wager that you had?
I have a list, Your Honor.
Of things that were forgiven as a result of the wager?
A list of things that she purchased and I've paid for either with the wager or with services or with vandalism.
Tell me about the vandalism.
Well, basically, she has a very, very nasty temper, and she has a problem with my past.
What did she do?
She put a hole in my wall, she kicked dents in my door, she put holes in my door.
Now, did she do this, and after she did this, you terminated the relationship?
Terminated the relationship several times, Your Honor.
All right, but you didn't terminate the relationship after each of these incidents, finally.
Actually, I did, and then she would always try to throw money back at me.
Whatever,
Yeah.
sir. You didn't. She punched a hole in the wall, you had a fight, she left, then she came back. Is that right?
Yes.
And you took her back, right? And she continued to come on weekends.
Correct.
That is what we call forgiving. You forgave those things. You don't come now and say, I sort of charged it off to debts and wagers. Listen, sir, you have a DVD player in your house and a karaoke machine, is that right?
Correct.
Does the karaoke machine work?
Yes.
And all the accoutrements work?
Yes.
And what about the DVD player? Does it work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Pack it all up, because she's getting it back. Not all this other nonsense. But this she's getting back, because if you have a relationship that doesn't work out, clearly the karaoke machine you say you paid for, I don't believe you paid for it.
What about the damages, Your Honor?
I don't have a counterclaim for damages, sir. You never filed a claim against her for damages, did you?
No, I didn't have a chance to, Your Honor.
Well, chance, that's what we're here for. I don't have a claim. The karaoke machine you said you paid for, and then you did the negative equity in the car you didn't pay for, but then there was a wager, and she said, if I can spin around 4 times with a banana on my nose, then I will pay for it. Whatever the bet was. She lost the bet, so you said, that's baloney. Okay. Relationship is terminated. You have to do the right thing. The right thing is, if she invested a lot of money in electrical equipment for your house.
The DVD player was a gift, Your Honor.
Does it sound familiar to you that she said, let's put one upstairs because it's too cold downstairs?
Not exactly, Your Honor, no.
Well, what exactly? You said not exactly. Was that a no or a yes?
Well, she told me that I could forget about paying for that because she had done something in the relationship and she wanted to stay.
She said, you can forget about paying for it because
Right.
I did something wrong.
Correct.
A minute ago, you told me it was a Christmas present.
Well, on top of that, Your Honor.
Well, a minute ago, you told me it was a Christmas present.
Yes, Your Honor.
You see, when you lie, sir, what happens is you usually
Your
trip
Honor.
over your tongue eventually, you know? Eventually. You're giving back the DVD player and the karaoke machine. They're going back within 5 days. Pack them up. She will pay for shipping, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Court will prepare an order. Good luck to you both. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It just didn't work out, but I still care about him a lot.
She's got a very nasty temper.
He's a good person.
She likes to get physical and violent.
I wish him the very best.
She needs to grow up.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bacamino versus Gala, step forward, please.
Ten-
This is case number 366 on the calendar in the matter of DaCosta versus Arias. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Costa, you had a brother.
Yes.
Your brother had been arrested. I assume from your answer that he was arrested for assaulting you.
Yes, ma'am.
He was incarcerated. He contacted you for the purposes of bailing him out of jail. Is that right so far?
Yes.
And you say that you had an agreement with him that he would turn over some sort of a motorbike to you to repay you for his bail. Before that was accomplished, he died. So now we have a dispute between you two ladies who were sister-in-laws, and you were separated from your husband at the time of his death. Is
Correct,
that right?
ma'am.
You want her to turn over the title to the motorcycle to you,
Yes.
and she wants the motorcycle returned to her because it was taken from her home without permission.
Yes, ma'am.
When was your brother arrested?
July 22nd, 2001.
And you knew he was arrested for assaulting his
Yes.
wife. How long have you been separated?
We had actually separated June 28th of 2000. We reconciled and we separated May 28th of 2001.
Were you legally separated
Yes,
by
ma'am.
court order?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of that court order?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Why
And
not?
When he passed away, I had contacted my lawyer, and he told me that I was now a widow, that there was nothing else that could be done as far as the proceedings of the divorce.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that your defense is that you were legally separated and therefore no longer responsible for any of his debts, even if I determined this was a just
Yes,
debt.
ma'am.
So it's surprising to me that you did not bring a copy of the judgment of separation. All right, so this happened on July 22nd of this year. He was arrested, he contacted you, told you he needed bail,
Yes.
and what did you do?
I called Flores Bail's Bond. I paid the first $2,500 that day, and then after my brother's death, I called the bail's bond and asked him if I still was responsible to pay the $2,500 for the rest because it was $5,000. He said, yes, you're still responsible for the next $2,500. So I paid that. And
Let me see the papers from the bail bondsman. How much was his bail?
It was $5,000. I guess the bail bond has to put up like $50,000.
No, it was $50,000.
Yes, but the bail
Why
bond
was it
puts
so
that
much
up.
money? Had he
Because-
assaulted you before?
Yes, ma'am.
Had your brother been incarcerated before?
No, ma'am.
Had he been incarcerated before?
Yes, ma'am.
Because $50,000 bail is a lot of bail.
Yes. Can I say something?
Yes.
The first time that he was incarcerated with her, the charges were dropped because the judge dropped the charges on that one. They found no case against it.
I doubt that. I didn't ask you about any of the substance of it. I asked you whether he had been incarcerated before, and the answer was yes. He had been charged with domestic violence before, because otherwise it's unlikely that bail would have been set in the amount of $50,000. You want to controvert what I just said?
On the spousal abuse, no matter what, if you get caught, I got spousal abuse on me.
That's good.
But
Listen, you're telling me that you're the expert on spousal abuse.
It's
Trust me.
$50,000. It's $50,000 no matter what.
I want you to listen to me.
I know it's $50,000.
You think he's finished yet?
I hope so.
Yeah. It's 50 grand no matter what.
Got spousal abuse on me, too. Whew. Why do you think she owes you any money?
My brother and I had agreed, when I bailed him out of jail, he called me several times and asked me if I would take the motorcycle for the money that he owed me because he felt really bad. Then I called my brother on the 25th of August, and we talked for 16 minutes. I have the phone record here. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and take the bike. And he's like, well, take my barbecue or take the water softener or something like that. And I'm like, well, we'll just make something. We'll do something.
You mean take it instead of the bike, or take
No,
an
take the
addition-
bike and that,
that?
because the bike's not worth that much money.
Okay.
And then he died 4 days later.
And where was the bike at that time?
It was at his house.
How did it get to be at your house?
It wasn't at my house. It was brought to my sister's house. When my mother found my brother deceased, she asked the police if it was okay for them to take
I object, Your Honor.
Shh. Just a second. I'll get to you in a minute.
They asked the police if they could take some stuff. He's like, yes, you can go ahead and take the stuff. Go ahead and write them down. So we wrote it down, and most of the stuff has been
So
given
that
back
the
to
bike was taken to your sister's house?
Yes.
And where is it now? Still at your sister's
It's
house?
at a friend of ours.
Was it ever at your house?
Yes, ma'am.
How did it get to your house?
My husband was living at the home. I moved out of our home into an apartment.
Then you moved back into the house?
No. I just recently moved into the home after my
But
husband.
the bike was never taken from your house while you were living there.
Well, okay.
It was never taken from
Not
your
from-
house while
well,
you were living there?
Not while I was living there, correct.
Okay. So now it's at a friend's house, and so you want the title to the bike?
Yes.
All right. So?
The reason why they had taken the property from the home is I've got a call at work. I work in Lancaster. It took almost 3.5 hours to locate me because of where I work. By the time I had gotten home and gotten my 8-year-old out of school and gotten back to the house, everybody was already gone. The property was gone. All of his jewelry, family pictures. There was a lot of stuff that was taken from
Just
the
a minute.
property.
So what do you care? You just told me you were separated. You were going to divorce him.
But after being together that many years, you just don't stop loving somebody
Just
overnight.
listen to me. Now you love him because he's dead? Listen
No.
to me very carefully. Your brother had an obligation to his sister. He had agreed with her before he died that his property, the bike, would be turned over to her in payment of a debt that
I don't
he
believe
owed
that
her.
is true at all.
I believe it.
I'm still paying for the motorcycle. He put it on a credit card.
Just 1 second. That's a different story. Let me see proof. Let me see proof.
He put $1,500 out of the checking account, and the rest went on a credit card.
Just a second, if you're... Just a minute. It says amount financed, $4,130. To whom was it financed?
If you flip that pink over, it'll show $1,500 came out of a checking, and the rest was put on a Visa.
Whose Visa is this?
Mine and my husband's.
Let me see.
Oh,
Let me
well,
see it.
it's heck there in my purse.
Get it?
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique DaCosta says, shortly after bailing her brother out of jail, he passed away. Monique claims her former sister-in-law, Robin Arias, refuses to hand over the motorcycle he promised as collateral.
See, please. Well, this is in your brother's name, not in your name.
No, but I'm saying it's a joint account. All
That's
of our
not what it
credit
says.
cards were joint accounts.
I don't know that. Well, then show me proof that you've been paying for the bike.
I haven't been able to make any payments because I'm still waiting for life insurance to come in.
So you haven't made any payments on the bike?
No, but I mean, I have to pay the credit card off.
I don't know that you have to at all. You don't even talk about that in your answer, that you're still responsible for the payment of the bike.
I was told by my lawyer, due to the fact that we weren't legally divorced, that I am still responsible for all of his debt.
Not if you have a separation that is a court-ordered separation, and that the court-ordered separation can, in fact, say that neither one of you is responsible for the debts of either party from this day forward.
Correct, but we were living together when he purchased the bike.
So?
Your Honor, they were not living together. He was living with my mother when he purchased the bike.
Your Honor, my witness is to attest to that we were living together.
What's your mother's address?
It's Linden Avenue.
That's where he lists his place of residence.
Right. But he was living at Newcomb Street.
I don't know that at all. Listen, you can't have it both ways. Are you collecting his life insurance?
Yes.
You're going to collect his life insurance. How much?
A whole lot.
He had 16 months to remove me as anything. That is the
Just
same.
answer my question. How much life insurance?
$85,000, and then a policy that he had prior to us ever getting married, he left for his 8-year-old son.
Is his 8-year-old son your 8-year-old son?
Yes, ma'am.
So your son?
Yes.
And who does your son live with now?
Me.
And how much life insurance will you collect from the child?
It's a structured settlement.
And how much?
Roughly, maybe $600,000-700,000 goes to his son.
Okay. Let's talk about what is reasonable, madam. But for the fact that your husband died, you would not be $85,000 richer. Your son would not be in substantially kind of position that he will be in.
Yes, ma'am.
Soon. That I'm telling you because if your brother couldn't repay his sister for the bail and had to sell his property, his motorcycle, his barbecue, whatever else, to pay his sister back, that means that he wasn't in such good financial shape.
Ma'am, he could have paid his sister back. This is a checking and savings account from when my husband died. He had more than $5,000 in it. He left it to his 8-year-old son in a uniform trust account. He could have
That
paid her back.
may have been. If it was a trust account, maybe he felt as if he didn't want to tap into that. What I'm telling you, Miss Arias, is you're supposed to do the right thing. The right thing is your sister-in-law bailed her brother out of jail, even though the bailout was a result of an assault allegedly committed on you.
I have the police report for
I'm
that.
not interested in the police report. I said even though it was not determined in a court, but that's why he was in jail, for assaulting you. But you just said to me a moment ago, just because you're separated doesn't mean you stopped loving somebody. Isn't that what you said to me 2 seconds ago? So
Correct.
listen to me. You're supposed to do the right thing. This was a debt that your husband had. He had already arranged with his sister how that debt was going to be paid. There is no proof whatsoever that you are paying this bill and this card is not in your name.
No, it's my husband's, correct.
I understand that. There is no proof that you are currently paying this bill or will ever be responsible for this bill. Now, it is very possible that if, in fact, the bank decides to go after this bicycle, they will come and get it from her. But in the meantime, you give her the title.
I do not have a title. I had to do a 180 on it. She has possession. The DMV will not give me a title because I did a Grand Theft Auto report on it.
Well, you're a cutie pie because you knew exactly where it was. So we will prepare an order, which I am hoping that the Department of Motor Vehicles will honor, that this matter has been resolved here, that this court determines that the title to the bike should be in your name, that the bike was not, in fact, stolen, that it had been reported stolen by Miss Arias, and it was never stolen. And would they please re-execute a new title in your name? I don't know if there's a lien holder.
There's no lien holder.
I assume that there's not a lien holder because it's on a credit card. And if you wait, I will prepare a copy of that order. Your counterclaim for the return of the bike to you is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad it's over and done with.
This is what my brother wanted, and I'm just thankful that I'm able to get it. And you know what? The Lord above will take care of her in the long run.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Newhouse versus Covington, step forward, please.
21-year-old college student Contessa Newhouse is suing her former co-worker, 44-year-old former customer service manager Cindy Covington, for defamation of character. Contessa says Cindy falsely accused her of calling in a bomb threat.
Ms. Newhouse, you and the defendant for a period of time worked in the same retail store. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that after you left your employment there, a short time afterwards, there was a bomb threat called into the store. The defendant received that threat. So far, is that right?
Yes.
And that the defendant told the police that she thought it was you who had called in the bomb threat. So you are suing her for defamation, for slander. That's what your lawsuit is. You want $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you leave your employment there?
I left my employment on August 23rd of 2001.
And the defendant was one of your supervisors?
A customer service manager.
And when was the bomb threat called in?
Around October the 10th or the 11th.
When you received the call, what did the call say?
Because you, Shirley, and Carlos are all going to blow up because there's a bomb under your feet. Well, Shirley and Carlos and I were involved in a termination of her roommate, and the roommate had been there that day.
Did you, at the time you received this telephone call, believe that you recognized the voice?
Yes, I did. I felt it was Contessa's voice, and I mentioned that to the police.
And as a result of that, the police came to your home?
Yes, ma'am.
And was there any investigation that followed?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what the investigation consisted
The investigation was I had to go down there for questioning, and I was required to take a polygraph so that any suspicions would be dropped against me.
And you did that?
Yes, ma'am.
So other than going down to the police station for questioning and you took a polygraph, which was a voluntary polygraph because they don't insist that you take a polygraph.
He asked me if I'd take the polygraph so that they would leave me alone and let me live my life, and I volunteered did it, yes.
Right, so it was voluntary. So what do you want?
What I want is, Your Honor, back in April of 2001, I have never really known this lady, but I took back a television when I first moved into my apartment. They gave me the wrong television out of the layaway, and I took it back because it was defaulted in someone else's, and they called her up to the service desk, and she flat out called me a liar and told me that I better get the right TV. So I got my TV and I left, and I came back and I wrote a 3-page statement and I gave it to the store manager. And I know it got her in trouble.
Then you went to work there. I read your complaint. Then you went to work there after that.
Right. I went to work.
And then you had difficulty with her.
Mm-hmm. The one night that I got put under Cindy, I'd never worked underneath her.
Cindy?
Okay. She worked under me several times.
Go ahead.
Money came up missing out of my drawer, and she made it plain and simple to go tell everybody I took the money out of my drawer. Then I had to go to the bathroom so bad at my register that she turned off my light and expected me to help all my customers instead of letting me go.
Because I didn't trust her, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I started to wet my pants, which is a humiliation when your manager will not let you go.
So that happened to you back in August, and you left.
I left because of my integrity being questioned, being called a liar and a thief by Miss Covington, and because of humiliation.
Fine. Okay, so you left.
Right. I also had a roommate that lived with me that is very good friends with Miss Covington that I kicked out because she molested my daughter and because she went and she slandered my name all over also. I kicked her out the Monday before the bomb threat. And yes, I did call the night of the bomb threat to talk to a friend, but I nowhere even near the time of the bomb threat. My mother called me from the gas station, which is my
Miss
witness.
Newhouse, let me stop you right there, because it's not a very difficult case. Police respond to a bomb threat that they take very seriously. They question everybody, including the person who received the call. The person who received the call, that is the defendant, says, and I'm sure the police asked, did you recognize the person? She says, I think I recognized Miss Newhouse's voice. They came, they spoke to you, they investigated, and they did not pursue it. Now, if we as a community said, every time somebody said, I think it looks like that person, or it sounded like that person, or it could be that person, and the police investigate, and it turns out not to be the right suspect, that you can turn around and sue the person, in this case, Miss Covington, who made that statement, that would have a chilling effect on police work. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. So you are entitled to nothing.
Ma'am, the one thing that it's harassment, the way that I had been treated for the last 6 months.
That's not what we're talking about. You want to sue her for harassment. You want to sue her for harassment. You sue the store that you were working for.
Ma'am, for a woman who's never talked to me on the phone, how would she have known it was my voice?
She doesn't have to talk to you on the phone. She talked to you in person. She doesn't have to talk to you on the telephone.
But I sound completely different on the telephone. After previous jobs that I've had, I've never sounded the same as I do in person.
Well, how do you know that? You listen to
Because
yourself
I have
on
a
the telephone?
mother-in-law who thought I was a piece.
Miss Newhouse, you don't have a case. Goodbye.
Now, this is cases number 385 and 386 on the calendar in the matter of Norris, La Lumiere versus Rapporteur.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Norris, this is your mother.
It is.
This is your boyfriend.
Yes.
You claim that your mother owes you for rent during the time she lived with you.
Yes.
When did your mother come to live with you?
Sometime early from mid-November. I'm
The
sorry.
questions are going to get harder.
I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous. Around mid-November last year of 2000.
And under what circumstances did she come to live with you?
Shortly before, less than 2 weeks, she'd been evicted from yet another apartment, and she called me very upset because she was stranded with no place to go. So, again, I let her live with me.
And she had stayed with you before, I assume?
Yes, several times before. I've helped her.
What was the financial arrangement, if there was one?
That she would agree to pay $50 a week if she was responsible for her other expenses, her personal things, doing her own laundry. I have washer dryer. If she was going to take care of all that out of the house, then it would only be $50. I have 3 floors in my apartment. The 3rd floor, she had all of that for her. There was two rooms with full closets. She had, you know, a good amount of space.
And your mother agreed to pay you $50 a week?
Yes, at least.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you say that she did not pay you the $50 a week?
No, she was with us for around 10 months. During that time, we got at most $200 in total from my mother. Not only, that's not just cash, we got one payment in the form of a scratch ticket that she had won. And after a period of time, she just said right out that she wouldn't leave and she wasn't going to give us any money anymore either.
All right, let me hear you.
I moved in there on the 28th of October. We agreed on $50 a week. Mr. LaLumia told me at that time $50 a week would only allow me a room or the rooms. I wasn't allowed to use the phone, watch television, or eat any of the food in the house. I'm a tea drinker. I bought my own tea, sugar, and milk. I ate at the local pizza parlors and the little variety store at a cost of $80 to $90 a week to myself. I bought my own cigarettes and liquids outside of my tea, and they never bought any of my necessaries, and I wanted nothing of them, Judge Judy, at all.
I'm asking you about the $50 a week you're
I
supposed to pay.
paid them. I have, where I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was on unemployment when I moved in, I didn't ask Sherry for receipts, or I didn't give a receipt because she's my daughter. I have accounted for, financially, $1,150 that I did at different points give her altogether.
The only she paid was a $50 money order
And I do have
and
receipts from the
a scratch
landlord.
ticket and the 3 receipts from the landlord. That is the only money that Miss Rabitor has ever given us in the time she has lived with us. She has been supplied with food. She has snuck down in the middle of the night, taken food up to her rooms. She has ravaged the house.
Judge Judy, I lived with my daughter and Mr. LaLumia for 10 months. Not once in the 10-month time did Sherry or Jim ever speak to me.
So why didn't you leave?
I tried to get jobs while I lived there. My daughter blackballed me out of jobs. People would call there, and Sherry would say nasty, dirty things about me to companies or places that I was trying to get employment. So I wasn't really working other than a $6 under-the-table job at 15 hours a week.
Did you live with your mother until you were how old?
15, I left home.
You were 15?
I was 15 when I left home because I had abusive parents. At 17 was the first time my mother stayed with me because she had been evicted at that time. She stayed with me for a short period of time when I was just a teenager. For all of these years, I have helped her. This is the 3rd time she's lived with me, at least. And every time it ends terribly.
Well, tell me how it
makes
ended.
me hesitant to help her any further, but I do, because she's my mother. I do. She's whispering things over here, being taunting.
Shh! Don't speak. How old are your children?
12 and 13.
And they live with you as well?
Yes.
Does your mother have, to the best of your knowledge, any particular problem that causes this eviction from one apartment to another apartment? Has she ever had any psychiatric treatment?
It's not just apartments that she continuously gets evicted from. She can't keep jobs either.
I'm asking you about any psychiatric
Yes,
disability.
when we were children, my brother and sister and I, when she was with her first husband, she was getting psychiatric treatment at the time. I was young. I didn't pay much attention. My brother actually had brought it to my attention recently. He reminded me of that. And at some point after she and my father split up, she and her first husband, he was not my biological father, she stopped getting any sort of, I don't know if
Any
she's
help?
on medication. She never has continued counseling or medications. And yes, I know that is greatly to do with why she can't hold jobs and she can't keep apartments, because she can't maintain relationships of any kind. I am her oldest child. She was a teenage mother when she had me. The last words my mother has spoken to me since she left my apartment was that she's regretted this since the day that I was born. And I am the only person that has helped her since I was 17 years old. She's from a family of 10. She has 9 brothers and sisters, and they won't help her. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They won't help her. I have helped her over and over again since I was a teenager myself.
So,
and this is what happened.
Miss Norris, let me ask you this question. I know you're upset.
Because it's my mother.
I gotcha.
She's supposed to be the mother, not me.
You know, sometimes roles change when you don't want them to.
But when it's hurtful over and over again, that doesn't bother me, taking care of her and help her. I knew she needed it, and I didn't have a problem doing it repeatedly. The only reason that she was even in the home is because she's my mother. I mean, Jim didn't owe her anything. I didn't really either, but nobody
What
else would
happened,
help
Miss
her.
Norris? Listen, let you compose yourself for a minute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Norris says her mother, Paula Rabator, owes for unpaid rent and living expenses. Sherry says she's been burned before by her mother.
Miss Norris, after 10 months, your mother left your house. Had you had a fight?
There had been a fight, well, not a fight. Oh, yeah, it was. Actually, it started over money. When she first came, she had no job. She'd just been fired from a job. Animosity was created when she was asked when she was going to start paying. She said she wanted to take time off, and it was just before the holidays last year. She had just gotten fired. She'd just gotten evicted. She said she needed time to recover. And with the holidays, I thought, okay, you know, it's not a problem. It'd be hard to find employment anyway right now. So that was not a problem. And then she did get a job while she was collecting unemployment from another state. That's another character point of hers, using different names.
Tell me what happened at the end, Miss Norris.
Okay, lots of stuff happened in between. She was a terrible example for my kids, my daughters. The things that she says and the way that she talks, my kids were just, their chins hitting the floor with the vulgar language that she uses, not just profanity, just very sexually oriented things and just other totally bizarre things that she did. She had a small bird. She believed one of my children was responsible for killing it. So she nailed the dead little bird to her bedroom door with a note telling my daughters to stay out. That's how she is. And my children even think, they said when they left the room, the bird was fine. They believe she did it herself. This is where her mental illness comes in.
You didn't make your kids think it was me.
This is where her mental illness comes in.
But I wouldn't hurt my birds, Judy.
She threw them out the window, all of them having been pets caged for 5 years. They can't fly. And she threw them out the window the day she was leaving. That's how much she loved her birds. I thought she loved them too. But when she did it, she made sure she came downstairs to tell me she had just thrown her birds out the window. 3 of them I never saw again. 1 of them hit the ground because she was so weak. I still have her. It was my neighbor that, this is her act.
Just a second.
Please,
Question,
understand
Miss
that.
Norris. Miss Norris.
I know, I'm missing the point. This is getting distracting.
Okay, it's getting distracting. But let's get back
No, anyway,
to
so the point, at the time that I needed to ask her to leave, she was not paying any money. I forgot exactly what happened, but I said, that's it. Jim asked her for me because I had a hard time with this because of the whole situation.
All right, so it got difficult.
It got very difficult. So she came to me, Jim had gone to her work one day and said, you need to leave. And she came home that Saturday from work and said, you know, Well, she didn't listen to anything he said. She just thought he was the biggest jerk in the world. So she came to me, and she says, I never talked to her. She asked me, is it true? Do I need to leave? I said, yes. She said, why? I said, because, Ma, you've been here for nearly a year. You have accomplished nothing. So I just said, it's just not working. It's just not doing any good, Ma. I think you could stay here for another 5 years, and it would still be the same. You'd still be right where you are, not a dime in your pocket, nothing, and no job. So enough is enough, that's it. I said my children are leaving the long Labor Day weekend with their father. I didn't want them there when she was moving because I knew she would cause a scene. So I said that I would give her that 4-day weekend with my car to remove herself and her belongings. Well, that Saturday, she came back to me crying, saying, I need help, I know I need help, I've needed help for a long time, and that's what I spent all week doing. I wasn't at a job interview the other day, I was at the emergency room at the hospital because I know I need help, and can't you just let me have the time to get help, Sherry? And so I said, fine. And then I talked to Jim, and I said, well, my mother's not moving out this weekend.
Ultimately, she moved out when?
The following week, even.
Okay.
She even had more time, and the day that she moved out, it was because we got legal papers in the mail. We received notices in the mail that she was taking us to court. Said, forget it. Forget it. Why are you doing this?
Why was she taking you to court?
It was a charge.
Threat to commit a crime. The threat was taking legal action to have her evicted from the apartment.
If that was necessary, because she said, I'm not leaving. I don't care what you say. He said, if I have to take you to court, I will.
So she filed a complaint of threat against you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you told her, you managed to find your way to the courthouse, now you can find yourself a new apartment.
That is correct.
Well, okay. He came home from work, and over the weekend, I said, my mother talked to me. I'm going to let her stay, because ultimately, for me, I have been dealing with this sort of thing for my children are petrified of her. Nobody will do it.
Okay, all right, stop.
I know you want a cathartic event.
Ultimately, if my mother can be normal one day, that's all I've wanted half my life, and if we have to bite our tongues and deal with it a little more, for her to get help, fine.
May never happen.
I stand there, I can't even believe it. I can't
May
even
never happen.
believe it.
All right, Miss
I
Rabitor,
don't think so.
listen to me. You left your daughter's house.
Oh, could I?
Just a minute. Your claim is that she either kept or destroyed some of your property.
Yes.
Before we get to your claim, I want to know why you filed a complaint against your daughter's boyfriend.
Mr. Leloup, Sherry, like I said, Sherry doesn't talk to me and hasn't talked to me for quite a while.
Just tell me what caused you to file the complaint against him.
He was threatening me.
What did he say?
He just kept threatening me to not touch anything, get out of the house, we don't want you here, leave this house, don't eat, don't watch TV, don't do anything, get out, get out, get out. So to me that was threatening because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances? Well, it's not legally threatening.
But then I accused...
It's not legally threatening.
No, it wasn't legally threatening.
So then what did you go to the courts for?
It would have become threatening, Judge Judy, at a point.
No. You
Yes,
don't go to the court. Listen, you don't go to a court if you think it might become, in some later date, threatening.
And Judge...
What?
I've already been in front of a judge 4 different times for this very same issue.
What issue?
Her belongings.
Her counterclaim.
Her counterclaim?
Yes.
And what happened with those cases?
Well, I first received a call from the clerk asking
just a minute.
me...
Do you have...
Yeah,
I have legal documents.
We have
I want to see
supporting
the order.
papers of all of this.
Can I see it, please?
And
Were you at any time ordered to return any of her property?
Yes, and I did.
Just a minute.
And
have
she
you
did
been
not
to court, Ms. Rabitor,
take a thing
on the same issue as your counterclaim, the property?
Yes.
Then you had your day in court. I don't deal with that.
Your Honor, the judge wouldn't hear it. Sherry said that everything was her belongings, and he wouldn't hear it.
It wasn't supposed to be a housing court issue, and they told her that. But because it was presented in front of the housing court judge, he dealt with it.
And what was the order? Do you have the order?
To return her belongings to her, or I would be thrown in jail in 7 days. My issue is that it isn't all hers. I'm not giving her my belongings.
I can understand why no judge is going to hear this.
I pointed out that a lot of it was petty.
A bread box, house plants.
Those were returned to me.
Good.
I have the items that weren't returned.
She states that there's a 6-foot buffet that was hers, and it was not hers. It was never hers, and I have a statement from my landlord, who is an antique collector, stating
Just
that...
one second.
For the
Just 1 second. Is the main thing you want this antique buffet?
No, Jim.
Well, what do you want?
I want to be able to get my belongings and go on with my life.
Listen to me.
I've worked
I'm
Judy,
asking
for 20 years for all of this.
Ms. Rabitor,
I fought everything.
Clay, listen to me very carefully. You had access to the house, and some of the stuff you removed, and some of the stuff she sent
no, I
over.
didn't.
Shh, I'm speaking. Some of the stuff, according to your papers and hers, she sent over to your other daughter-in-laws. I'm going to give you an opportunity to present to me a receipt for this buffet.
It was from my mother-in-law, Judge Judy. She gave me the buffet and a hutch to match.
I don't know that.
No, and the landlord doesn't know that either.
Listen to me, Ms. Rapaport. The burden is on you to prove to me that anything on your list is your property. And the way to do that is with receipts.
Judge Judy, she kept all of my legal papers and all my legal documents. She kept all my phone numbers, address books, and everything. I have no proof of anything because Sherry has it.
If you have no proof, then I can't help you. Do you have, Ms. Norris, any documents in your house? I'm not talking about receipts or papers, but any documents in your house that your mother left there that you did not bring over to your sister-in-law's house?
Yes, I will give those back to her. Once all this court stuff is done,
No,
I will give them back to her.
Listen to me. They're her documents. Anything that is her document is to be turned over to her within 5 days. And was there anything else? You said there was a computer. Did you return that to her?
Yes.
The computer was returned to you.
No hard drives or a power cord.
All right, good. That takes care of your counterclaim. Within 5 days, all of her papers, documents,
I have pictures of the items
be
that are on
returned to
that
her.
list.
Put it down.
Judge Judy?
This
What?
is my
For one-
Woonsocket
Put it down.
apartment, Judge Judy.
The apartment that she was evicted from in Woonsocket, that landlord kept most of her belongings.
No, he didn't,
Well, that
Sherry.
may be the pictures.
Those belongings come to me as soon as I have a place to bring them to. And I can get my
Ms. Norris,
landlord to
listen
vow
to
to
me
that.
very carefully. Just taking care of the counterclaim.
Okay, but
I want you to listen. Ms. Rapiter, I honestly believe that you probably need some professional help. You are a grown woman, you are a mature woman, and clearly your life has been a series of ups and downs. Oh, she's leaving. Your mother is leaving. She probably could use a little bit of professional help. In any event, she was here, she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the court. Your mother acknowledges, based upon her own figures, that she owes you at least $1,050. I don't believe she paid you
No, she did not.
$1,150, but you don't have records. She doesn't have records. So I'm awarding you on your claim $1,050 for back rent. As far as her counterclaim is concerned, it is absolutely impossible to determine who owns 3 baskets. So just make sure she gets all of her documents back, and that will be done within 5 days. That's all.
Case number 345 on the calendar in the matter of Butler versus Yandell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Butler, you and your family and the defendant and her family used to be neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
While you were neighbors, it is your claim that the defendant harassed and defamed both your family and your son.
And assault.
And assault. And you want to be compensated. The defendant says that after a series of drive-by shootings, she contacted the police. And after she contacted the police, you harassed her, assaulted her, and caused some damage to her property. How long had you been neighbors?
Possibly 4 years. I've been living in my residence for 4 years now.
How long were you living in the
I
neighborhood?
moved in there January of 1999, and he moved in there probably a year following.
A year after? You were there first?
Yes, ma'am.
So you weren't there for 4 years?
Approximately 4 years, July of 99.
July of 99 is now 4 years. She was there first?
Yes.
Okay. How many people in your family?
Family of 5.
You?
My wife and 3 kids.
How old are your children?
Son is 15. Another daughter is 13. Grace is 12.
Okay. Before this incident, had you had any difficulty with each other?
No.
Gotten along okay?
Well, we just never was around each other to get along or not get along. I just, I knew the type of person, people they were, so I just kind of stayed my distance.
I'd like to speak on that. Basically, I would walk up and down the street to get my daughter from the bus stop from school, and he would always be outside with a bunch of people. This was a daily thing. He used to say hi to me. I used to say hi to him, too. As for him saying the type of person I was...
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
You said hi, so there were no problems.
No.
No problems, ma'am.
What happened in September of 2001? Because I assume that that's what precipitated this problem.
On September 20th, at about 2 o'clock...
in the afternoon?
Yes. Ralph came to my door, knocking at the door, says, I want to talk to Rod, which is my fiance. And then I said, okay, and then I went and got him. He came to the door. He goes, I want to talk to you, not your wife. He was like really, really like, I could tell something was wrong. And so he stepped to the door, and then he went outside and he closed the door behind him. So I was inside and I was listening from the inside, and I could hear him yelling and getting really loud and rude with Rod, saying that your wife turned my stepson into the police saying he's selling drugs out of my house. And then when he said that, then I opened the door and I told him, you know, Rob, you need to get your story straight before you come down here threatening me. I said, none of that is true.
There had been a problem in the neighborhood with some shootings?
Yes. What happened with that was right across the street from his house, there was a lot of drug members hanging out selling drugs, and there was a lot of drive-bys that started occurring, and this was about 8 months ago.
Well, that had nothing to do with him. This was across the street from his house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what happened was right, like side to side, on the same sidewalk area, my son was at the park in the sandbox. The first drive-by was about like 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. And my son was out there when this happened. And my daughter comes running inside the house telling me, Mommy, they're shooting out there. And then I came out there, and then my son was laying down in the sand because he was scared, you know. He didn't want to get shot. And so then after that, there was about 3 or 4 more shootings within like a 2 weeks time period. There was 3 within 3 days. So every time that the police would come to check out the area, all these guys would run into the back of the carports, which lead into the back doors of the townhouses across the street from his house. So what I did was, my fiance and I, we walked down to speak to the officers. And we asked them if we could speak to them privately so we could kind of give them a feel out of who these people were to try and get this stuff resolved. So what happened from there was, when he came to my door that day on September 20th, he says, I'm not a punk B. You're not going to get away with this, you snitch. And he goes, the only reason you're saying anything to me right now is because Rod, which is my fiance, and my best friend Jeff, we were all there together. And he goes, that's why you're only saying anything. He goes, but you wait until you go walking down the street to get your daughter, you're going to get yours. And then he goes, snitches don't live long. And he takes off down the street really mad. Then he comes back about 5 minutes later with another guy that is a known drug dealer over there. He comes back up and he goes, you mother effers, snitches get stitches and they don't live long. And then the police showed up. And then they took my police report, which I have right here, and I stated everything that he said to me when he came to my door, that he threatened me.
I'd like to see them, please, Bird. What made you believe, sir, that the defendant had accused your son of doing anything?
Yeah, because, Judge, she was stopping the little kids in the neighborhood, asking the kids what was going on down under the tree down there. She was spreading rumors to the little kids, harassing the kids, saying that me and my son was selling drugs.
Ma'am, that's not true.
No, no, no. I don't think that that's true, sir.
Well, that's true.
No, I don't think that that's true. She may have been inquiring about what was going on
And she's
there.
up here babbling about drive-bys and whatever. I wasn't in none of those cars. I'm no drug dealer. You know, I haven't shot at nobody.
She
I haven't
never
ran in nobody's
accused
house.
you, from what she says, and I believe her. She never accused you of doing anything. She said that the drugs were being sold from a location across the street from your house.
Well, Judge, it says right there in her claim, it says that I'm a violent drug dealer and I threatened her life. That wasn't
If
said.
you'd like me to speak on that, I would love to.
Sure.
Okay, the fact of him selling drugs, I have a lady friend that walks through the neighborhood going down the street to the local store.
Did she buy some drugs from me?
Excuse me.
Did she buy drugs from me?
Mr. Butler, Mr. Butler, don't speak yet. You'll get a chance.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyways, the lady's husband would always come by, and he was like a real skinny drug addict. He would walk by to his house, come in, be there for like maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then split, be gone. And this man was continually going there, getting whatever he had to do.
On a separate occasion, assaulted him with pepper spray. Karina denies making false accusations and claims the pepper spray was in self-defense.
Let's go back a moment. So he's outside talking to your fiancé, Rob. You hear him make these comments about snitches get stitches.
Yes.
You call the police and make a report. What happened after the police report?
The next day, my friend, which is my witness, Vicky Burciaga, she came over, and we were going to go walking down the street around the corner.
By my house.
Yes, by his house. I walked on the other side of the street, but before I did that, I told her the situation, and I told her that he threatened, you know, really violent threats. So what I did was I had her carry some pepper spray, and I carried pepper spray. And I'm not going to lie about it. I had her carry a bat, which was out of sight, in case he approached me, which, in good thing, I did that. So we went to lunch. We went around the corner, had some Chinese food. He wasn't outside when I walked by the first time, on the other side of the street. So then when I come back by, he's sitting outside on his ice chest.
Now, when you walked back from lunch, were you walking back from lunch on the other side of the street?
Other side of the street, yes, ma'am.
No, that's a lie.
Mom,
That's a lie.
I mean,
Just a minute.
excuse
We're
me,
going to come
Judge
back
Judy.
in a second. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, I was on the other side of the street, and before I even got anywhere in front of his house, he seen me coming, and he started going off, just cussing and calling me all kinds of names. You better not come near me, I'll kill you, and just really like trying to be verbal. There was a teenage boy standing next to him. He says to the kid, "Go get Pam," which is about 2 or 3 houses from his house. Well, Pam steps outside, and she says, "Why are you threatening us with mace and a bat and asking all the little kids around here who's selling drugs?" And I said, "You know what, Pam?" I said, "Pam, that isn't true." And I said, what happened was Ralph came down and threatened to kill me yesterday. And right at that time, Ralph picked up this wooden table I have a picture of, and he picked it up above his head like this, and he called me a white Ku Klux Klan Nazi FMB. And he went like this to throw it at me. And right when he did that, I maced him as much as I could. And I turned around and started running.
So you maced him?
So I maced him, and when he threw that table, the table hit me lightly right here as I was turning to run. And then I started running, and I looked back, and he was coming, and he picks up this metal chair right here. He picks up this metal chair to throw at me, and I remember screaming, "No, Ralph!" And I kept running, and I fell down. And then I got back up, and I also had my dog on a leash with me.
That's how she got your scars, Your Honor.
Just a minute. You took your dog in to eat Chinese food?
No, he stayed outside. There's a tree like in the parking lot, and I had him on his leash, and he was tied to the tree.
You left your dog tied on a tree while you went in and had lunch?
Yeah. Well, if you've seen the area, you'd understand.
It's premeditated, Your Honor. She had, in fact, wanted to come down there and pepper spray me at that time.
Mr. Butler, I'm going to come back to you. I guarantee it.
Your
She's
Honor.
just
I'm just
lying,
asking
lying,
some
lying,
questions.
lying.
Mr. Butler.
Yes. I'll be good. I'm cool.
Your Honor, to tell you the truth, this neighborhood is known as the ghetto. To tell you
I
the
don't
truth.
care what it's known as.
So
I
that's
just wanna
why
know
I
you
took my
left your
dog
dog
to
tied to a tree while you went inside and had lunch.
Because he goes everywhere with me. It was, and plus the fact that, you know, in case anything happened
All
to
right,
me,
so
you know,
you're
some
walking
sort of
down the
security.
street, you had your dog in your arms, he picked up something, he yelled, "Ralph, don't do that,"
Yeah.
whatever.
And then
what
I made
happened?
it to my house, and I called 911, and the police arrived about 30 minutes later.
So that's the assault you're talking about in your counterclaim?
Yeah.
Now, the assault you're talking about in your claim, just pay attention, you're not listening, Mr. Butler. The assault you're talking about is being maced.
Yes.
Do either of you have any medical bills as a result of these 2 assaults?
No, it was just washing my eyes out at the hospital, going through all the drama, you know, just basically trying to hold my head up after letting this lady do something like that to me, you know.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you to tell me, Mr. Butler, she's coming down the street with her friend.
Yes.
And when you first saw her, on which side of the street was she? Your side of the street or the other
she walked
side?
right by my house, just like it was a thing to do.
In front of your house?
In front of my house, it wasn't even 5 feet, you know, it was just right there.
Okay, and you're sitting outside?
Yes. Well, at that point, Karina...
She's walking by?
Walked by, she went to the store. She must have stayed at the store about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. She came back by, and at that time, I was sitting on the porch. She crossed the street and walked right in front of me. And I can't say what she told me, but she gave me a unpleasant gesture and told me I was lying. That's what she called me. That's her favorite word when she get mad.
That's not true.
So she walks over next door and knocked on the door. So she's trying to clarify and make them think that, oh, I'm lying about her calling all us. But as soon as, well, that's what she said.
Right now, you're on your porch.
Yeah.
And she's not on your porch.
She's not on my porch.
When did you come off your porch?
When she started pointing at me, cussing me out, I came off my porch and walked over across.
Where did you walk across to?
Right next door to my house. And
so you walked up to her?
No, I didn't walk up to her. The lady, my neighbor, was standing right here. She maybe be standing on this side over here. I was talking to Pam, and Steve arguing back and forth. And next thing I know, this lady said, "You know what?" And shh, they started spraying me. And yes, I did pick up a table, quite big table. And my intention was to bust her in the head with it. But I couldn't see. I was blinded by the pepper spray. I could not see. If I could have seen, I would have continued that. You know, that's self-defense in my book. When you leave your house with a baseball bat, a dog, and some pepper spray, that's premeditated. I didn't do anything to this lady to make her want to do that.
Considering that the day before you had had somewhat of a confrontation with the plaintiff, why did you choose to arm yourself with a bat and 2 things of pepper spray and walk right by his house, not once, but twice?
Premeditated.
Hey! Do I look like I need your help?
No.
Explain that to me.
Okay, ma'am. The simple fact why I did was because my daughter, she always comes right at the end of our street right here to the bus stop. The fact
you weren't going to pick up your daughter, you were going to eat Chinese food.
I know that. But if I wasn't going to eat the Chinese food, I would have been walking down there to pick up my daughter from the bus stop anyways.
Listen, one thing is necessary to go and pick up your child, and one thing is choice.
Yeah, I made the choice. Maybe I made the wrong choice, but...
You sure did. And you anticipated trouble. First of all, Mr. Butler, you were wrong to go down to her house and have this confrontation with either her or her fiancé or her husband or whoever it was, because I don't think you had all your facts straight.
Yeah.
Now, from what I gather, she was trying to find out so that she could tell the police who was selling drugs on her block so that she would be safe from these shootings that were happening. Because that's why...
I would like to be safe too.
Just a minute. And my sense is she was asking around children in the neighborhood, what do you know about drugs being sold and from where? You told me that. She was asking, which, you know, is kind of gutsy. Most people, when they're faced with that kind of situation, they don't ask any questions. They say, I better stay in my house and keep my doors locked. But you got annoyed that she was poking her nose around, which was the wrong thing to do on your part. She wasn't doing
But I didn't break
anything.
any laws. She did when she pepper sprayed me.
Just a second. That's not true, sir. If you went up to her house and said, snitches get stitches, that is breaking the law.
That's not what I said, Your Honor.
I would like you to tell me, Mr. Butler, and think very carefully, sir. What did you say to her fiancé when you came to the house that afternoon in September?
I was attempting to talk to him like man to man.
No, don't attempt to. What did you say to him?
I asked him why is his wife going around spreading rumors like that about what we're doing down there in my house. She just said that we were selling drugs. I asked him why she's going around spreading those rumors.
Who had told you that she said you were selling drugs out of your house?
The kids in the neighborhood. She was stopping them, asking them was I selling drugs down at my residence.
So she was asking them. She wasn't telling them. Okay, so you asked them, and then what happened?
And me and him didn't get a chance to finish the conversation because it took both her husband and her friend or whatever to hold her. She was going to attack me, calling me. She said she's tired of living around all you drug dealing, and she wished we all just move. I said, well, if you have a problem with black folks, why are you still living in the neighborhood? You know, I said, somebody holding you? And I left. I turned around and walked off. I was this, that, and he couldn't do nothing with her. He trying to hold her to keep her in the house. She was physically trying to attack me.
That's not true.
You know?
Okay, let me stop. I think that you made a mistake, Mr. Butler, when you went down to the house and tried to confront people without getting all the facts. If you believe that the defendant is a hothead, I certainly would have made other arrangements to speak to the fiancé. But
that's what
I think that she certainly has the right, living on that block, to go around and ask a lot of questions to find out who's selling drugs in that neighborhood, which is causing an element to come onto that block, which is endangering everybody, including children. That's not accusing you. That's asking a question. If you don't like the question, that's too bad. But she has absolutely no right to arm herself and her friend with mace and a baseball bat. And the day after this confrontation, go walk down your block. Well, she said she was carrying a dog. Couldn't have been a huge dog.
Are you big enough to bite?
How big a dog?
A dog, he had 50-some teeth in his mouth, big enough to bite out, you know?
How big a dog?
A dog. It's not, you know, it's not no poodle, he was a dog.
Not a poodle?
No.
Okay, I find that you put yourself in harm's way by being stupid enough right after this altercation to walk by, arm yourself, looking for trouble, go out to eat, come back in the same direction, pass by his house, cross over to his side of the street. I mean, you're just looking for trouble. And you found it. You looked for trouble and you found it. And you started...
Might I add one thing?
No, does it sound like you're losing?
Well, no, I just want to say one word. Huh?
I talk.
Okay.
Do you allow your wife to talk?
Yeah, I can't, I don't control my wife. She does what she pretty much wants to do.
Yeah, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. You had no right
I know.
to spray him in the face. He has to be compensated for that civilly if that's what he wants. Now,
That's
some
what
of
I
that
want.
has to be mitigated because, Mr. Butler, I believe that you got a little hot under the collar.
Yeah, but can I explain one thing to you?
I don't want you to explain anything to me. I want you to listen.
Yeah.
You got hot under the collar.
Very hot.
Right.
Yes.
Before you got sprayed with the mace.
No.
Sure you did. You were hot when you came down there to talk to her friend.
But I didn't go to her residence. She came to mine.
No. She didn't, Mr. Butler. You were sitting on your porch when she walked by, you went over towards Pam's house, where she was, and the two of you started talking. Now, your wife is sitting there, and she looks like a very nice lady, and she's nodding her head up and down. You got hot. That doesn't excuse getting maced in the face. Doesn't excuse that at all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Yes, this is case number 364 on the calendar in the matter of Bruce versus West. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
All right, the facts in this case are relatively simple. What is your first name?
My name is Kira Bruce.
Kira, you are 17 years old.
Yes.
Decided you wanted a tattoo.
Correct.
You went to the defendant's tattoo parlor.
Sure. That's acceptable.
And presented him with a fake ID and got your tattoo.
Yes.
Then you came home and your mother had a Shrek. You know what a Shrek is? She had a fit.
Good. I thought that was a movie.
Well, somebody took the word and made a movie out of it. But she had a fit. And you and your mother are suing the defendant because your mother believes that he should pay for at least half of the cost of removing the tattoo. Is that what this case is about?
That's exactly what it's about.
Easy. I have a few questions. When did you get the tattoo, Kira?
The beginning of October.
Had you ever had a tattoo before?
I had started one a few days before I got the one at Body Bazaar, yes.
You mean you started one but didn't finish it?
Correct.
At a different tattoo parlor?
Correct.
Why didn't you finish it?
I was nervous and I just kind of got up and paid him and left.
Okay. So the beginning of October you got this tattoo. What does it say? What is it?
It's my last name. It's
Bruce?
Yes. And then
You don't have a boyfriend named Bruce?
No.
Yeah, she told us.
We don't shout out in court. Now, when you went in, did you go in alone? Were you with someone else?
I was alone.
And you saw the defendant?
Oh, I never met Dave West until it all came back with my parents.
Okay. You saw somebody else who worked in the shop?
Yes.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
Which one? Raise your hand.
Both of them?
You. Were you the one who did the work?
Yep, did the verse tattoo on her, yes.
Okay, could you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Kevin Augustine. How you doing?
Don't ask me questions. I
Kevin
ask questions.
Augustine.
Augustine.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Augustine, when Kira came into the shop, did you ask her for identification?
Yeah, that's normal procedure.
What did you say to her?
They give us California driver's license and they fill out a consent form.
Do you have her form?
Yeah, we do.
May I have it, please?
There's two separate ones for the two different dates that she came in.
She came in on 2 dates.
2 different occasions.
So you didn't finish on the first date and she came back?
No, she started the tattoo at a tattoo studio a few doors down. Then she came to us and got the tattoo she had started at the other studio. She
Finished.
got colored in. Then about a
came
month,
back for
maybe
the
about a
second
month later, she came back in, brought the same ID, presented her ID, and got a whole nother separate tattoo.
Okay. Do you have the driver's license that you presented to the defendants when you
It was not a driver's license, it was a California ID.
California ID.
Yes, we do have that, and if you'll note, the sign, the person going in actually fills out the information. On the first copy of October 1st, her date of birth is listed as 8/19/01. On the consent form dated October 3rd, it's 9/18/83.
Oh, okay.
So,
not very hard. Now, she came home to see you, and she showed you the tattoo?
No, she didn't actually. I had been in Southern California for 9 weeks caring for my father, who just recently passed away.
Who was staying with her?
Her father and her brother. But when I returned home, my house was a shambles, teenagers and a dad that eats pizza. So I happened to stroll through her room, and I looked down on the floor, and I saw a letter. It was folded, and I picked it up, and it said, "I love my tattoo," a little heart. So I thought I better read the rest of this letter. And I said, "Dear James, sorry. I hope you're not mad at me for getting another tattoo." And then I ricocheted off of the walls. And so when I picked her up from dance that evening, I confronted her about it, and she showed me these tattoos. Then after that, we went to visit the tattoo parlors.
Miss Bruce, I'm going to stop you there. When are you going to be 18, Kara?
September 3rd.
Not so far away. Do you still like your tattoos?
Yes, I do.
Now, your mother wants you to have them removed. Is that a painful procedure?
Yes.
Look, she got these false IDs. I'm not going to even ask her where she got these IDs from. She presented them. She doesn't look as if she's 12 years old. She certainly looks as if she could be over the age of 18. And as long as she acknowledges, and I have certainly here in writing, she signed, giving her consent, indicating, swearing to the fact that she was over the age of 18. Sometimes people, when they write their date of birth, transpose the current year, 01, for their actual date of birth. The answer is yes. So they did what they were supposed to do. The only one who didn't do what they were supposed to do was your daughter.
Okay.
Your daughter. And your daughter is 17. In less than a year, she's going to be 18. She's going to be of the age of majority. Why wouldn't you, instead of bringing this lawsuit against the defendants, say to your daughter, you have to accept responsibility for what you did. You either got or passed off a fake ID. You knew that you weren't supposed to do this. This is something that in our house, in any event, we would oppose, and you did it anyway. And you did it in a sneaky fashion. Now you've got these tattoos. If you want to have them removed, get a job, pay for them to have them removed when you're 18. We're not talking about a 6-year-old child. We're talking about someone who is 7 or 8 months away from being a legal adult. Why do you think that these people are responsible?
It was my understanding that she did not show an ID to Kevin, that the only person who saw her ID at any time in this tattoo parlor was an apprentice by the name of Andrew or Dave.
Doesn't make any difference, Mrs. Bruce. Someone at the tattoo parlor said to her, can I see your ID? She said, yes, here's my ID. Then they had her fill out a form. Now, the person who actually did the tattoo didn't have to recheck, just as if you go into a hospital and you're having surgery, you go into an admitting office. In the admitting office, you fill out all kinds of forms, including consent forms. When you're laying on the operating table, the surgeon doesn't say to you, by the way, I'd like to see your identification and fill out some forms again. They're done before, so that when you go in for the procedure, it's all finished. All that paperwork is all finished. Your daughter did the wrong thing. Do I look like I need help from you?
No.
Then why are you raising your hand?
I just wanted to add something to it. I tattooed on her also. If you look at the...
Just a minute.
Okay.
I didn't say yes.
Okay. I apologize.
Do you understand? What I'm saying to you, wait 10 months, and if she wants to have the tattoo removed, she'll have it removed. Don't be mad at them. You gotta be mad at her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Irene Bruce says Dave West owes for removing a tattoo from her 17-year-old daughter, Kira. Dave says Kira used a fake ID.
Okay. You got to put the blame where it belongs. The blame belongs with your daughter. If she had gone into that tattoo parlor and nobody said to her, let me see your ID, I say, you got a case. But they asked for her ID. She had a fake ID.
That looks nothing like her, I'm sorry.
I want to tell you something. I like to look at my driver's license and say it looks nothing like me, too. I look at my passport and I say, who is this person?
Right.
All right? So.
But she is neither 5'3" or 100 pounds. And if
I lie on my passport, I lied on my driver's license. I've been 100 pounds now since I was 8 years old. It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
It's her responsibility. You can't transfer that to them.
Okay.
But if she wants to take it off, let her get a job.
Okay.
Let her pay for it.
She does. Okay. The other thing, when I visited the tattoo parlor, I spoke with Kevin. We called Dave, who said if he was going to have to pay to have this tattoo removed, that he wanted the sheriff called and my daughter arrested. I did call the sheriff from the studio. There were 3 officers that were present. They did state that it was a civil matter and that we needed to resolve it between us.
Because you wanted your daughter arrested.
Don't speak to her. Look at me.
Sir, I can't abide lies when they're presented in front of me, ma'am.
Don't
Thank
speak.
you.
I can't abide speaking out. Go ahead.
I did tell the officer that if they needed to arrest her, she needed to be responsible for her actions, and whatever their decision was, she would have to live with it. But they advised us to work it out in an amicable way. So Dave West did sign an agreement to pay half of the cost of the removal of the tattoos that were put on her body by Body Bazaar. He also requested that I obtain an estimate for the cost of the removal of the tattoos.
Just a minute.
Which I did.
You signed this on October 27th that you would help pay half the cost of removal of her tattoos? Sir, this is your
Yes,
handwriting?
basically I signed. I was forced into signing it. There's 3 cop cars in my driveway blocking my driveway to my business. She said basically that she wasn't going to leave until I signed a piece of paper saying that I would help her pay for it. I got people trying to pull in my driveway. They can't come in. I'm losing business.
Listen to me, sir. All you do is go outside and say to the police, I have asked this woman to leave my shop. She refuses to leave my shop. She is now trespassing. Have her removed.
I wasn't aware of that. I did.
Well,
I was under a lot of stress. I had 3 cops at my business.
You may have been a lot of other stress,
I had
but
an
you
angry
signed
mother
this.
forcing me. I was
you
being
signed
under
this piece of paper.
I sure did, under duress. I was basically forced into it. I was under a lot of stress. I had cops at my business.
Mr. West, ignorance of the law is no excuse. I would dismiss the case. I'm telling you right now, this case would be over. I don't believe it's your responsibility. But you agreed to not pay half. It says, I, Dave West, will help pay half of the cost of removal of the tattoos. He doesn't say he's going to pay half. He says he'll help pay half. Mm-hmm. Now, that may be semantics, but since I feel as if it's so unjust for him to pay everything, or even half, I'm going to interpret what he says based upon the exact letter of this note, which says I will help pay half. And the total amount is a couple of $1,000. Half of that would be $1,000. So he's going to help pay half of the $1,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's your responsibility. Deal with it.
I still feel that he's responsible for accepting an identification that did not look anything like her.
She basically committed a crime. We were victims of it.
I wanted the tattoos.
We were a professional operation.
The tattoo should be removed.
It's number 310 on the calendar, the matter of Siegfried versus McGeorge. Parties have been sworn. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Siegfried, it is your complaint that the defendant reneged on an agreement that the two of you had when you entered into a contest. And the contest, which you'll explain to me, had as its prize a car. And you claim that the defendant agreed that if she won the car, she would either sell the car and give you half of the proceeds, but she would share the prize with you, and likewise, if you won, you would share it with her. She, in fact, won the car and refuses to sell it or give you half of its value. That's what the case is about.
Right.
So, this was a good friend of yours?
A very good friend of mine, yes.
Now tell me about the contest.
It was actually put on by a local radio station. The two of us
Where?
In LA. We were going to try to win tickets to see a particular group.
A group? What kind of group?
NSYNC.
I've heard of them.
We were trying to win concert tickets through this radio station, and we had been calling for over a week. We'd been trying very hard to win these tickets, and in the process, through one of the times that we called, Deanna was asked if she would like to participate in another contest that they had running at the same time, which involved sitting in a car for a week. And at that time, I was with Deanna when she was on the phone with the radio station. And
where were you?
We were actually in my car coming home from a mall where we were meeting one of the DJs from the radio station. And we had decided when we left the mall that let's try and win the tickets again. So she continued calling, and at that time, she was asked, would you like to be in a car contest? And her response was, would this make me lose out on winning the tickets to the concert? And they told her yes, that you would not be eligible any longer to win the tickets. And she's like, well, I don't know. And I'm all, just do it. It'd be fun. Just do it. So she's decided now at this point that she's going to be in the contest.
All right. Now, what exactly was the contest?
She was to sit in a car for a week.
Alone?
No, there were other contestants that were going to be participating. The original rules set forth were that the person who stayed in the car the longest would win the car. And when myself and her went down to the contest, I drove her down there. We found out prior to the contest, the beginning, that it would end on Sunday regardless of...
How many people's tuchases were still in the car?
There were 2 cars.
Okay.
And in one car there were 4 people, and in our car there was myself, Deanna, and another contestant.
They couldn't get 4 people. They
That's
couldn't
correct.
get 4 lunatics.
That's correct. They suckered me into it instead.
Okay, so you got down there with her and they said, would you like to sit in the car too?
Right. They asked me if I would be interested in staying in the car because they didn't have enough contestants to participate. So they asked me if I would be interested in staying down there. I wasn't very...
Was it the same radio station that was running this contest?
The same radio station, yes, that was giving away the tickets for the concert, yes.
And at the end of the contest, which was going to be that Sunday, if everybody is left in the car, how do they choose a winner?
They drew straws.
They said it would be a drawing.
Right.
That's all they said.
Okay. So the 2 of you stayed in the car for the entire week?
Yes, we did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How were you fed?
How were we fed? We were sponsored by a local restaurant that
And they
brought
just
us,
gave you the food in
They
the car?
brought us meals throughout the day.
And what about potty breaks? How do you do that?
They specified them as 3-hour breaks, and at that time we were able to get out of the car for 15 minutes and do what we needed to do, to stretch and what have you.
And what about sleeping? You just slept whenever?
They slept in the car. I personally did not sleep for 4 days straight, but that we slept in the car.
In the car?
In the position that we were sitting in. We were never able to leave the position of the car that we were in.
What if you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night?
You went in the car.
Seriously?
Nobody actually did that. We never had that come up, but yes, that would have been.
Or you get up.
Or you get out of the car and go to the bathroom.
And then you're out of the contest?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And sometimes they
I
didn't
would
wake
never
us up
last
to go.
in a contest like that. Okay, so the end of the week came, and it's on Sunday, and the three of you were left in your car?
Right, correct. The other car, they had already designated a winner.
So, drew straws.
Correct.
And you picked?
It was actually numbered straws, and they had corresponding numbered envelopes that had keys in the envelopes. And I picked a straw with the number 2 on it and the envelope number 2, and they said whatever key started the car, that person was to win the car.
And you won?
Yes.
So now tell me about this contract that you allege you had with her. Because it's clear that you decided not to sell the car, she decided to keep the car, friendship's over, she said, I'm not selling the car and I'm not giving any money.
Correct.
Now tell me your version of the contract that you had with her.
Okay. Simply, while we were sitting in the car, her and I discussed that we would sell the car and split the money from the car. And in the process, we would also win tickets to see NSYNC. One of us would get the tickets and we would split everything.
Okay, and did you get the NSYNC tickets?
Yes, I did.
And did you go with the defendant?
I did take the defendant to the concert.
So far, that's all right. Now tell me about your understanding of this agreement that you had with her.
As far as the agreement goes, when we got in the car together, she had mentioned something about if either one of us wins the car, let's sell it and split the money. And I had said, I don't want to agree to anything just yet. I don't know what the outcome of the contest is. So I can't say yes or no. I don't want to say yes or no because I don't know if I'm even going to win. I don't know if you're even going to win.
And this was a conversation that you said you had as soon as you got into the car?
It wasn't directly right when we got in the car, but it
Within a day or so?
The first day.
Within the first day? And you stayed in the car together for 5-6 days?
Nothing else was ever mentioned.
And did you speak to each other?
Yeah.
Friendly, laughing? Then I don't believe you. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe you.
Okay.
If she's your friend, and what she's saying is absolutely right, the two of you being in this contest certainly increased your chances of winning.
Right.
You got much better odds with the two of you deciding that whoever wins, it's going to be like a joint winning.
Right. Except that the whole reason I was doing this was because I was in some financial problems, and if I were to win the car, I wanted to use that to help
And what
me
if you lost everything? You think that if you lost everything, you would take the same position as you're taking now? No, you wouldn't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Siegfried says former friend Deanna McGeorge refuses to share a car they won in a radio contest. Deanna says they only agreed to share another prize, tickets to an NSYNC concert.
So you had financial problems, but you made an agreement with her. And the agreement was that if either of you won this contest, you were going to share the prize money. And how could you not?
that agreement?
Yes, you did. Sure you did. You may have put it in the back of your mind, forgot about it, said, it's not really what I meant. I said I would sell the car, but now I'm not going to sell the car because I really want the car. I'm going to keep the car, so where am I going to get money to give you? And forget it, and the friendship is over. It's really outrageous, Miss McGeorge. How long had you been
Well, that
friends?
wasn't exactly how it happened. We had been friends up way after the contest, and I had explained to her that I wasn't going to sell the car, and she was fine with that. Nothing was ever mentioned from the contest from the time of, I would say, April until about September. September is when she started all this.
Why?
Because we had gone on vacation in August together, and we both had some mishaps. We got in an argument, and when we got back, I hadn't called her for a couple days, and she left me a message on my voicemail, which I thought was very rude, and I didn't want to call her back. I was just wanting to take some time away from her because we had been in arguments, and I decided that I wasn't going to call her back.
Had you discussed between the time that you won this contest and the time you went on vacation what you were going to do with the car?
When I actually received the car in April, I had told her that I decided I was going to keep the car.
And what did she say to you at that point?
She really didn't say anything. We were in the gym, and she walked out on me.
She was angry.
Yeah, I understand
She was
that.
angry.
I understand that.
Well, I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that was not, at least as far as she was concerned, her understanding.
Right.
You said to her, I decided to keep it. Bye. So she was angry. Another thing, did you win the concert tickets to NSYNC as a sort of a second prize?
I was given concert tickets to see NSYNC and also some tickets to another group.
How many tickets were you given to NSYNC?
At the time, they were only going to give me 2, but she had asked me if I could please ask the gentleman to get us 2 more because we had planned on...
ask her to.
I had asked on... We had planned on taking her niece and her niece's friend to the concert as well, so she thought that if I asked him for 4, he might give us 4, and then all 4 of us could go together.
But if you hadn't gotten the 4, and if you just got the 2, who was supposed to go?
It would be Deanna and myself.
And you, in fact, went?
Yes, we did.
So you split that prize money?
Yes, I did.
Or that prize, whatever it was?
Correct.
Isn't that registering with you?
Yeah.
Huh?
That registers just completely fine with me.
You're better off without her. You got it? Not an honorable person. What kind of car did you win?
It was a Kia Rio.
You have the value?
Yes, I do. I have 3 invoices.
Can I see it, please?
You wouldn't do that to me, would you?
I sure wouldn't. You wouldn't do that to me, would you?
No, never.
Huh? The lawsuit is for $5,000, which is maximum allowed in this court. Correct. Clearly half of the value of the car. Were there any things that you had to pay for on the car? Did you have to pay any taxes on the car?
Yes, I had
What kind
to
of taxes did you have to pay?
The tax, title, and license.
Other than that, you have to pay income tax on winning.
Yeah, we haven't received anything yet because it comes at the end of the year. It's a winning a prize tax.
You know how much it is?
I'm not exactly sure how much it is.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Customer service, retail.
How much do you earn?
Approximately $10 an hour.
A year?
About $20,000.
So you're probably in the 15% bracket, is that right?
That'd be about right.
Even deducting for the taxes that you would have to pay and that she would have to pay on these winnings and the tags and everything else, it's still in excess of the $5,000, which is the limit of this court, and I'm awarding you $5,000. You have to be an honorable person, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excused, and they step out.
I feel that Judge Judy was very fair, and she took the time to listen to what I had to say, and I think she truly understood the facts of the case.
I think it's completely wrong that she should be getting $5,000.
I truly never wanted our friendship to end. I can't speak on Deanna's half, but I never wanted it to come to this.
It was never a complete agreement. We never agreed on anything at all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Keck versus Soleil, step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Barbara Keck is suing her daughter's friend, 19-year-old receptionist Amanda Soleil, for causing her car to be towed and impounded.
Miss Keck, the defendant was living with your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
I assume she was a friend of your daughter's?
Yes.
You allowed her to use one of your cars. It was an older car. She had run into some transportation problems. She relied on her boyfriend, according to your complaint, for transportation. I assume this is boyfriend Jeff.
Yes.
Hi.
Right? And at some point, after a period of time, the car broke down.
Yes.
The car broke down at Jeff's place of employment.
Right.
The car was subsequently towed and impounded. You had considerable fees to get the car out of tow, and you believe that the defendant should be responsible for paying those fees.
Yes, I did.
She says the car was a piece of junk, basically.
I don't have a problem with that.
When did she come to live with your family?
I think it was in May, either early or latter part.
Why?
I understand that she and her mother weren't getting along, and her mother had asked her, you know, just go on and live somewhere else.
What would make you take her into your house?
She's my daughter's friend and had been since senior in high school. They're both in college now. And she'd been over to the house and dinners and, you know, proms and all that. So we were all good friends.
Did you charge her any rent?
No.
When did you give her the car to use?
Maybe early August.
Tell me about that.
She and Jeff were in a traffic accident, which totaled his truck. So, you know, after they came over and they were at dinner at our house, I think, talking about things, and I said, well, how are you going to get around? And so we just decided, well, shoot, we've got this Mazda, we'll let her use it.
Now, you tell me what happened with the car and when.
After she gave it to use it, it was September 6th, and I was dropping Jeff off at work.
So we'd used it for a while. You used it for about a month.
For about a month, yes. And I dropped him off at work that morning, and as I was saying goodbye, it just died. And which is normal because the whole time I used it, it would stop at stoplights, just like she said. And this time it just died. I couldn't get it to click over or anything, so we pushed it back into a parking spot, and I said to him, well, I'm going to have a car anyway, so we might as well go buy a car now. So he used a company truck, took me home. I called in sick to work, and then I went to buy a car. And after I bought the car, I came home that day. It was about 4 o'clock, and I told Barbara, I said, Barbara, come look at what I bought. So I came out to the driveway, and I said, I bought a car. And she goes, well, what prompted you to do this? And I said, well, your car broke down today on the way taking Jeff to work. And she said, oh. I said, well, I left it at Jeff's work. And then she said that she would talk to her husband, Bernard, about it, and they would discuss what we would do about it when he comes home the next day.
I'm not ready for you yet.
Oh, okay.
And did you have another discussion with Barbara?
During the period of the next week, it just kind of came up off and on. Nobody really said anything. I worked full-time, and we never sat down and totally discussed it.
Well, instead of going and buying a new truck that day, why didn't you call a tow truck and
Because
and have the car towed back home?
Like, I've never had a car towed on me before, and I really didn't know what to do.
Well, you knew enough to go and buy a car. You have to fill out forms, you have to take it to be registered, you have to go to motor vehicles, you have to get insurance, right? And to get a car towed, you have to pick up the phone and look in the yellow pages and find towing and call and say, come pick up the car and would you please bring it back to my residence? Now, which one seems harder to you?
Probably buying the car.
Right. And the towing fees were $455.
Right.
Well, you explained to me, young lady, why you don't think you are responsible for that.
Well, I feel that because I feel because the car was in her name, and the day that it broke down, I did come home and I did let her know.
After you bought a new car?
Yeah. Well, at the time, that seemed like the right thing to do to me. I don't.
No, it seemed like the selfish thing to do.
Buying the car was my idea.
Excuse me?
Buying the car was my idea. I had the money saved up, and I just said, you know.
Is anybody talking to him? Are you still living at her house?
No.
You lived there for how long?
From June until early September.
3 months she didn't charge you any rent?
Right.
Not $50 a month, not $100 a month. I assume you ate breakfast there. You said you had some dinners there. Jeff came over and ate there. Did she charge you when Jeff came over and ate dinner?
No, she didn't.
Nice lady. And let you have a car. There's no issue. Where's the issue? Why are we here? It was your responsibility to bring the car home and say, now I've fulfilled my responsibility. It was given to me in the driveway. I've returned it to the driveway. You got it? And if he thinks that that's wrong, oh, I'm dying to hear from him.
You're dying. Okay.
Stand up!
She said, okay, when she gave us that car, it breaks down at stoplights. If you crash it, I don't care. Just don't get it stolen. The insurance doesn't cover that. If it breaks down, leave it. If it does this, does that, leave it. I don't care.
पबजी किधर आना है क्यों हैं भाई मैं ठा पाला आ रही थी घर आती हैं समझ नहीं नशा था गंदे देख असा पबजी ते लगे बैठे हालांकि साड़ी अवतारी थी वहां ले असा लगे पबजी के बैठे हैं मैं तेरे शकीर को आगे पैदान इतना कसे के वाला रास्ते में को लभना ना वो सही है ना आवाम अफ्तारी दी तैयारियां कीती वेंदी इन्हां पूरे खानदान दे स्टिकर लागणे ने ना हाले उन्नू बैठे ते बंदे नहीं नहीं अच्छा अच्छा हाँ अंदर एसी लवाई पर